One thing I love about collector car auctions like the GAA auction here in Greensboro, North Carolina, is the ability to see cars as they progressed in their styling. This is a 1958 Chevy Impala, the very first year for the Impala. And of course, 57 was a final year for the Tri-5 Chevy, but the 58 Impala really introduced radical changes in styling. The X-frame underneath, the quad headlights seen right here for the first time in 1958. 57s were singular headlights on the Impalas and the Bel Airs, the 210s and the 150s. But again, Chevrolet really turned up the glitz in 1958. This one's a very special example. It's a convertible, very rare car. We'll pop the hood in a second, but before we do that, this is 1959. Radically different car. It's also a Chevy Impala, but it's larger, 2-inch longer wheelbase, 119 inches, as Detroit got into the lower, wider, longer ethos of styling, and the American public ate it up big time. And of course, the front of this car is very exotic looking with these faux grills right here, which don't do anything at all. Maybe a little bit of venting of the engine bay, but again, the bullets on the front bumper right here. Quad headlights, of course, as always. Detroit stylists from everybody from Studebaker to Ambler to Ford to Mopar to Chevrolet embraced the luxury of the quad headlight look, and they were pretty much standardized. And again, this is an Impala, the top of the line for the Chevrolet model line. So again, 1 year separates this 58 from this 59, but radically different experiences and styling on these cars. Now this one here under the hood is a bit of a surprise. You'd think this would have the big engine, but that's the 283 small block with a 4-barrel, the power pack, which is cool. Very original presentation. Still has the generator, the factory generator. The alternator would arrive in 1963. But again, the small block Chevy, a potent engine, but again, for a convertible, something this heavy, maybe not underpowered, but you know, sort of lacking if you wanted to do some accelerating or merging on the highway or passing. But by contrast, this 1958 shows us the very first year of the first Chevrolet big block, the 348Y block, or W block, I should say. And if you look right here, there it is, the mighty 348. This would eventually grow into the 409 in 1962, 61 and 2 actually. And this is a tri-power, triple carbureted version, 315 or 280 horse depending on the camshaft, but triple 2-barrel carbs right here. And this is the biggest, baddest engine you could get in 1958. And again, the first year right here for the Chevy big block in the mid-size passenger car. Now this engine was never offered in the Corvette. You'd think they would have done that, but again, pretty heavy motor right here. And again, this is a convertible, and differences abound at the front and the back. One thing I dig about these, Cold War paranoia was in effect pretty much all over the country, including the Detroit styling studios. These look like the intake nacelles from a B-52 bomber right here, and those are the directional lights on the front of this 58. So, you know, Cold War paranoia was maybe in effect. At the back of these cars, and by the way, before we get there, we can see wraparound windshields were a big deal. Now, 1959 and 1958 was also wraparound, but not quite as extreme. And in fact, a different A-pillar right here versus 1959 when it became the dogleg, this thing right here. So again, they're similar but not the same. Again, these are convertibles, both of them the heaviest and largest, most expensive version of these cars. Corvette was more expensive, but a whole different buyer, whole different design, if you will. And the inside, of course, color-coordinated interior, two-tone, that's factory stuff. And a beautiful restoration right here, very respectful to the original car. And of course, we see this one here, the 1959, once again, the two-tone interior. And the steering wheel in these cars kind of pays tribute to the Corvette's aluminum steering wheel, but these are specific to the Impala right there, sort of a sporty-looking steering wheel. 1958, also a larger diameter wheel in this one here, but again, great example of space-age styling. Now, speaking of space age, 1958, of course, debut for the Impala, first time ever for the cross flags and the checkered flag, and here's the Impala logo right here, which would grow up into station wagons and other cars, but they were sporty cars in 1958 and 59. And at the back, we see sort of a convex quasi-tail fin, but 1959, the stylists went crazy with these tail fins right here, which are much larger. And many people say that at high speed, these generate lift and can be a problem. Some people say that you know, at 110 miles an hour, these things actually get light in the tail and can spin out. It's probably just a wives' tale. But again, look at that massive fin right there. Huge compared to 1958, which almost doesn't even look like a fin. But again, the triple taillights on 1958, the trapezoidal longitudinal taillights on this, Continental kit on both of them. That was a factory option. Spare tire external location, and of course the twin antennas, whatever you want to call it, and only one of them works actually. I believe it's the one on the passenger side or driver's side, passenger side. And this one's a dummy, believe it or not. And that was sort of to get a speedboat vibe out of the back of your full-size Chevy Impala boat. And again, these also have the optional dust shields or fender skirts. You call them what you want. On the back of these cars, they both have them. They're made of steel. They're removable. And again, 1958 and 59, very similar, but not the same. 1950s styling excess at its best.